think there are looming things on the horizon that if we... AI is going to be different than anything we faced in our history. And most of you don't believe me when I say that. I feel like Cassandra. But it is. And only our very best collective intelligence and our very best distributed cognition and distributed labor is going to give us the wherewithal to be able to come into relationship with it. Because the attempts to prevent it from coming, my considered opinion, and I'm something of an expert in the field, is those projects are doomed to fail. We'll make rules to make it so that it never occurs. Good luck with that. I think that's a failed project. This is part of the thinking that got us into the place we're in. We'll replace wisdom with rules, and then we'll replace rules with laws. Well, we'll just make laws, and then it'll be fine. And that hasn't worked for almost all of the big problems we faced. And this problem is orders of magnitude bigger than any of the problems we've faced. And so we have to figure out how to work together, and profoundly so. We have to find a home base and a common orientation that, like I said, doesn't destroy our other commitments. But if we don't do this, and many of you have a faith commitment that saves you from this, and I mean this really sincerely, I hope you're right. I'm not sure you are. And if we don't do this, we will really lose our humanity. And so, looking forward to the horizon, looking backwards, like I said, the difference between Dover Beach and now gives me hope. Because now there's a positive. The recession of modernity isn't just Heidegger's and Nietzsche proclamation that we're falling, forever falling. It's like, no, we fell, and then we hit some ground that we forgot was down there. And that's good. Now that we have a place to stand on, can we stand together? Because if we don't stand together, we're going to get cut to pieces. And I really hope we can do this. I really hope we do this. And I really hope, and Jonathan and I are going to talk about this, and he probably wants to interrupt right now, and I'm sorry. But I really hope we can do this, like I said, in a way in which we're not requiring people to give up their spiritual homes, but instead finding a way, like the Silk Road, of knitting them together so that we can be what we need to be. So I think the Kairos not only is a Kairos that we can see retrospectively, but I think it's also a Kairos we can see prospectively. But I know you might not completely agree with me, and I'm just stating, you're asking me what I'm thinking. We're facing the greatest possible loss we've ever faced. This will make the Bronze Age collapse look like a day in the park. But we don't have to get scared. Like the fearmongers who just say we're doomed. I'm not saying that either. I'm not doing that. I'm saying we can, I believe, rise to this challenge, but we have to do it in a profoundly organized way. Individual effort is going to be massively insufficient. I think that's going to be a special responsibility for the legacy religions, and especially in the West, Christianity to bear. I'm calling on Christianity, but I'm also calling on all the other legacy religions to turn to this problem. Please turn to this problem. That you do have the resources to significantly help frame, formulate, and respond to this problem. And if you don't, I'm sorry, I think we're doomed if you don't.
When when I hear that, part of me thinks, because Christians are so unified and organized, is that we can somehow, so part of me looks at that and says, no, we can't even, we can't even agree on how to do communion together, which has ironies that go very deep. I mean, Christianity has suffered enormous catastrophes, and Christianity is almost at its worst when it seems to have the preeminent place of power in the world.
Yeah.
But Christianity itself keeps dying, and Christianity also continues to somehow be with the world as it crucifies its best, and it rises again. In our frame, when we hear, here's a threat, we have to counter it, this is where I sort of pull back to the larger frame and say, we can have hope. And as Christians, I believe that's where we do have a lot of resources. Because to not be Pollyannish and say, well, God won't let bad things happen. And again, well, you mean like the 20th century? We have enormous resources. They just don't tend to be the kinds of things that we tend to look at as our strengths. And I think every time I hear you say we, I think it depends what we is. And I think in that sense, that's where I see this little corner coming to meet this moment.
Oh, I hadn't thought about that.
Because...
So just let me make sure and sorry for interrupting, I just want to get it. Instead of the we being, it's like, no, this little corner is a nexus point of many different Christian groups and non-Christian groups, and that nexus point is perhaps the place we should look for as the thing that will rise to the response. Is that what I'm hearing you say? That's really good, Paul.
And that's what I hear when you say, this is how this little corner should steal the culture, because it is good. The we-ness of even these Christians that can't figure out communion together, that have figured out a way to at least have a conversation across things that people have shed blood over in years past.
No, I mean this as a compliment. I should have thought of that. Like, this little corner is a better place to look for the kind of spirit and the kind of theology, as I'm talking about it, that we're going to need to address this. And that is commensurate with the stealing the culture, which helps to address the Moloch part of the AI. That's brilliant. It's like, I'm just being seized by it. You can tell when it's a really good thing when you go, of course, afterwards, right? And it's like, that's really good. Taylor, we should note this. This is really good.